This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're taking your calls and questions about fighting the insurance company. If you've been injured in some way, you may have already filed a claim. You may be cooperating with your insurance company. You're doing everything they ask you to do, and then you're expecting good things, but it stalls out. Maybe they're giving you the runaround. Maybe they're insisting that you settle for less than you think you're entitled to. Maybe you're thinking about calling a lawyer. Well, now's your chance to go ahead and ask those questions. Call in the 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. You can also email your questions. You can email a legal question anytime, any day of the week. You send it to lawcall@waytv.com. And when we get to a show on point, we pull some of those out. We'll have some of your email questions tonight. Getting us started tonight, Michael Timberlake's here from Timberlake & Lee. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
You guys do these fighting the insurance company all the time.
Exactly. And, a lot of times what we look at is, in insurance claims, a lot of, it deals with automotive claims, things like that. Policy language can be important in that. But when you're really making a first-party claim, which is what we consider a claim against your own insurance company, property damage claim, somebody gets hurt on your property, anything like that, really the language in the policy can be critically important, and so we deal with that all the time.
And you need a lawyer to read that.
And sometimes you just need a lawyer to tell you, yeah, this is what it really says.
So call in the 31 Law Call number 536-0077. Before we get to your questions, we've got tonight's You Make the Law Call video. We've got video that we pulled. This is courtesy of YouTube. And it's, folks out at a nightclub. They're having a good time. It's a dance club. It's a party. And then over time, a little fight breaks out, and it gets worse. Now, most folks are trying to stay out of the way, but if you watch this for a while, it continues on. You got spilled drinks, you got glass on the floor. And
it gets a little out of control.
Everybody gets into it. It keeps going.
Well, so if nobody can recognize me.
Which one are you? So, does the club have any liability for this?
Whoa,
are you just
here,
on your own?
Well,
it continues on.
Yeah, that's really at the point where it gets out of control here. When you're a business, you have an obligation to maintain your premises in a reasonably safe condition. Typically, what we see when we're talking about nightclubs are security, some kind of surveillance system to make sure that if these events happen and they're usually alcohol fueled, that there is some reasonable response to those types of things. In this situation, it looks like there was some scuttlebush or whatever you call it, and it came up and it went down, and there was not any intervention. And that's really what you're going to be looking at. You say, you can't necessarily prevent people from, getting into an argument or getting crossways on the dance floor, but you can, prevent them from escalating the situation. And the length of time that it took in this situation was inappropriate, and somebody should have intervened.
Okay. We're going to be taking your calls and questions. We've got some callers waiting, but you brought with you a great partner to help answer questions.
Yes, and he's an expert in scuttlebutt. we got William Maservi. He's one of our partners here, and he's he's the guy that I walk down the hall and say, hey man, what about this?
That's right.
Glad to have you with us tonight. Okay.
Glad to be here.
Y'all, we got callers waiting. Sean's on the line with a question from Arab. Hi Sean, thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Well, hello, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Here's what I've got. I'll just kind of tell you what's going on. You can figure out a question out of it. I had a house fire.
Okay.
And the insurance company's just been dragging their feet.
Okay. Don't tell us which company, but yes. Okay.
I'm not going to mention any company names. They're not here to defend themselves.
That's right.
But so they dragging their feet. My hotel money ran out. And now they're saying there's nothing else they can do.
And you can't get back in your house yet at this point?
Cannot get back in my house. Okay. No, ma'am.
All right. What does he do?
Well, I mean, one of the things you want to deal with when you're dealing with a total loss type situation like this is make sure that you understand what you're covered for. There could be replacement coverage, which means insurance companies got an obligation to pay for what it costs to replace your premises, and then you're dealing with actual cost value or cash value, which is really what your premises was worth, and that can be a lot, a different situation. Okay. Also, what he's dealing with in particular is, coverage for being out of your premises. And usually, William, that's set with a coverage limit, right?
Yes, that's loss of use. And, they will typically put you up for X amount of days or for X period of time, whatever the policy specifies. And they all vary a little bit. And then there's contents coverage as well. That covers the contents of your personal belongings inside the home, right? And you have to prove what those were and what the value of them were, or what you paid for them. So there's a lot that goes into those types of claims. And I'd be interested to see what the fire marshal determined to be the cause of the fire, and line it up with the policy and take a look and see if that should have been covered or not.
At what point does maybe the insurance company get in trouble for dragging their feet? If that's going on, when does he have a claim for that?
So, the main thing you need to know is the coverages for this type of situation aren't unlimited. So they don't automatically have to rebuild your home. They don't automatically have to pay you for you being displaced from your home. It's just, determining what the policy would allow for, and it could be a certain number of weeks under the policy. And the policy could say, we're not going to pay for the rebuilding your home, we're going to pay for what it was worth. And in terms of a home, that can be very limited, especially when the property is very valuable. Yeah. So that can be an issue. But if you get crossways with your insurance company, bad faith is the what we use, right?
Yeah, and it's not a low bar to cross to prove bad faith. What they can get away with, under the law, at least in this state, they've got a pretty big window in which to operate. To get to the bad faith, you've got to prove really some bad intent there, which is difficult to prove on behalf of a company.
Yeah, and they got to prove that not only that they have pushed back against what your claim is, but they've denied your claim.
Gotcha.
And in Alabama, that can make it hard.
You're talking about they don't have to pay enough to rebuild your home. I think right now with prices of lumber and things, people are getting really surprised
Precisely.
that it's not enough.
Yeah, and you don't get, you may have bought a piece of property that you think was worth, or it may be worth $250,000 with the structure, and the structure burns, and then they want to pay you $25,000. Well, it's because the property is worth a lot of money, and the structure may not have been worth much.
Gotcha. Okay. Who does the insurance company actually work for? So if I'm paying my premiums, whether it's car or it's my homeowners, do they work for me? I'm worried about talking to
William
them.
knows the answer to this question, and the
Okay.
answer is shareholders.
Shareholders.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all you do is you have a contract with them, right? And under that contract, you have contractual obligations. It's more than just paying your premium. You have a contractual obligation to timely notify them of potential claims. You have obligations to cooperate in their investigation, to give a statement to your own insurance company. Should they ask for one, it's still a good idea to talk to a lawyer first. But they have contractual obligations. And so the contract is the framework from which both your obligations and their obligations are set forth. And then therein lies the dispute, right? So sometimes you may think, well, they're not complying with what they should be. They may think that they are, and that's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, and where our job kind of comes into play, and that's what civil court is for, is resolving those disputes.
Let me give you an email question. This came in from Tim. Tim said, if I accept a check to get my car fixed, do I give up the right to any further claims that I could pursue to pay future medical bills? Are those two different things?
Yeah,
how does that work?
And that's a great question, and we get that all the time. And basically, when you're dealing with an automobile liability claim, typically is what we're talking about here, if they pay for the repair of your car, they pay for the fair market value of your car, the total loss of your car, are you signing away the right to the rest of your claim? And the answer is, in most instances, no. It's just not. The claims are dealt separately. You're dealing with a claim for property damage, and most of the time we don't have to sign a release for that. We're dealing with a bodily injury claim, and you're dealing with a release for bodily injury. You need to make sure that you're aware of that, and as you move forward, and potentially talk to an attorney about that situation.
One caveat to that is, let's say you are in a wreck. There's obviously damage to your vehicle, but you suffer bodily harm as well. You're injured in the wreck, and let's say the other insurance company denies that claim. So you say, all right, well, look, I'm going to go ahead and sue them in small claims court for my property damage, and I'll take care of the bodily injury later. You can't do that, okay? So you can't sue in court for just the property damage and then anticipate bringing a bodily injury claim later. Those would have to be timely brought together. But as far as resolving it outside of court, there's no issue with that.
Gotcha. We're going to take a break. We'll be back answering more of your questions. So if you've been fighting with the insurance company, call in and tell us what's going on. The 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. Be right back.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call, where lawyers come to help. Your rights, your calls, live. Hosted by family law attorney Sharon Doviet. With the personal injury attorneys of one of the Valley's most respected law firms, Timberlake and League. Featuring the knowledge of managing partner Michael Timberlake, with millions of dollars awarded to his clients. And the experience of attorney Will League, a strong courtroom fighter known for his commitment to winning. And the fellow partners of Timberlake and League Heath Brooks and William Meservey. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're answering your questions about fighting the insurance company. So if you've been in an auto accident or you're dealing with the insurance company, tonight's your night to ask questions. The 31 Law Call number 536-0077. We've got with us both Michael Timberlake and William Meservey of Timberlake and League, and they have something special. You're part of a contest on AL.com. I've voted. I think you had a great event.
We appreciate your vote.
Yes.
And so we stepped out of our box a little bit last fall, and we went and had a huge event downtown in front of our office for the United States versus England, and then for the Argentina-Mexico game on 2 days after Christmas. And it was a huge event. We had a big time. There were about 2,500 people there, we think, watching the game, and it was a good time. And for the community, we put this on for free with some help from sponsors, and we got nominated for the Event of the Year by Downtown Huntsville, and we're very proud of that. And we'd encourage everybody to go out and vote on AL.com, and please announce us as the Event of the Year.
You shut down the street and had big screens and had a big crowd. It looked like it was a fantastic event. So congratulations, you guys stepping out of your box.
And our thing only does it every 4 years at the World Cup. So why does Mel knock it out of the park with our friends?
I love it. So something else that's going on that's a little bit different is that the Law Call is now streaming live on WAAY TV's Facebook page. So if you can't get to a TV, maybe if somebody's hogging the TV, you can watch on your iPad, on your phone, you can watch live, you can call family members that are in other parts of the country. So that's new, to be able to watch on Facebook Live. And
the good thing about that is William is an expert on that. He knows all about that.
Are you the Facebook expert or the streaming expert?
I would say
tech
neither.
Guy? You're the tech guy over there. You can also see old episodes.
We do love the fact that we're able to reach different audiences, and people can look at it in different mediums, and that's cool.
That's fun. Okay, so we're talking about fighting the insurance company. And so call in your questions, 536-0077. Sometimes you get different, maybe two different parties, two different insurance companies dealing with things. William, you were telling me that you've got a big trucking case that's going on right now.
Yeah, we do. As most big trucking cases are, a horrifically sad case involving the death of a mother. Currently working on bringing that to the finish line for the family and for the survivors, and trying to make a recovery for them. Absolutely.
And sometimes you wind up with multiple insurance companies. How does that work? I guess I've got my own, and if I hit somebody that's employed, or how do you get multiple companies?
A lot of times you deal with your own in an auto situation. You're dealing with your own insurance company. When and if the other insurance is not sufficient. A lot of times in multiple, bigger cases, we're dealing with, insurance companies that have a, primary limit or a initial limit of, could be $1 million, could be $2 million, and then you have a carrier behind that would insure them up to, $3, $4, $5 million.
Gotcha.
You can also deal with a situation where you have multiple individuals that are involved in the situation, and the insurance companies are fighting it out. And those are the kind of claims where it really gets interesting for a lawyer because you're not necessarily just dealing about the facts of the case, you're also dealing about which insurance company is going to have to step up and pay for this. And a lot of times the strategy behind that can make the recovery, different. And you use the right strategy, the recovery can be much greater than it could be.
And just to give you an example, Sharon, it's very evident with uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. So what protects you when you get hit by somebody with no insurance or not enough? The first applicable uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage goes with the car. And then the next one with the driver, the driver's insurance company, assuming those might be different. So if I was driving your car, Sharon, your UM would sit first because you're the owner of the vehicle.
Okay.
Mine would be second because I'm driving it. And if Michael is in the passenger seat and he's injured, he would have his own as well.
Huh.
And sometimes even some cars in the driveway that weren't involved. So it can be a situation where you're dealing with multiple insurance companies, 3, 4, 5.
And that's, and typically, when you're a routine type situation, automobile accident, or some kind of minor thing, cannot be an issue. We still encourage everybody to go talk to a lawyer. But whenever there's more than one person involved, or potentially more than one defendant, or potentially a situation where there's not enough coverage, or a driver was driving somebody else's vehicle or driving a work vehicle, those are situations where the amount of insurance coverage and the way the coverages are stacked can make a very, very big difference to the person that's hurt. And you at least need to talk to somebody to figure out what, your options are, and what the ceiling could be and what the minimum could be.
Okay, we've got Brandon on the line with a question from Decatur. Hi, Brandon, thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
My question is, how do you fight an incident report? Like where you're in a car wreck and they say that you're at fault, but you weren't at fault?
Yeah. So it's like a police report that you're dealing with?
Yes.
Yeah. What if that thing is wrong? Does that make a difference to your case?
Well, yeah, I mean, it can happen. It's happened before. I mean, but what everybody needs to understand preliminarily is that the accident report does not govern who is at fault in a case. In terms of civil liability, in terms of, it provides a lot of information for us, provides a lot of information for insurance companies in determining, who the players are and what might have happened. But at the end of the day, there's no, it doesn't create any kind of legal presumption that one party is obligated to pay or not obligated to pay. And really, from there, William, we look at the facts, right?
Yeah, I mean, by and large, that police report's going to be hearsay unless the officer actually witnessed the accident occur. So that's what we're going to go do. We're going to go look at the scene. We're going to see, are there tire marks, are there different pieces of evidence that can give us an idea of what actually happened in the collision. We've gone and pulled, lighting sequences for traffic lights. There's all sorts of different things you can do to try to prove or shore up a case. One of the easiest, if they're available, are witnesses, right? So if there's someone who witnessed the wreck, it's always important when those people stop and give the officer a detailed account of what they saw, and then their name gets incorporated into the report. And that's someone who can either dispute what's in the report or confirm what's in the report. And so those people become very important and who they are. Sometimes it's caught on video, so you're going to look at what businesses are right around where this occurred, and is there a camera pointed at the street? But you've got to get to those quickly, right? Because those are generally recorded over after 24 hours if someone doesn't pull them or save them. So, the way we look at these cases is much more than the accident report. Now, the reality of that situation is, if the accident report is it going against you, and we're talking about $300 in property damage, you're going to have a hard time finding a lawyer that's going to take up that case. But you can still go pursue it through small claims court, particularly if you have a witness or some other evidence that's going to be in your favor. The accident report itself is going to be inadmissible.
Yeah, and talking about there are a lot of high-profile murder cases going on right now, and they've got GPS data for phones and all this stuff and going on. And you got to understand that, yes, that information is potentially accessible to us if we file a lawsuit in a situation. But your claim also has to warrant that kind of effort and that kind of investment. Right. And just because you can get evidence doesn't mean that it makes sense to get evidence. A lot of times, if you're up for trial for murder, you absolutely want that evidence. If you have a nick on your bumper and want $500 for property damage, most likely it's not going to be worth the time to get that kind of evidence.
Okay, and explain how lawyers like you guys get paid. How does it work? So you're having to foot some money for this,
Sure,
right?
certainly.
Because the person, well, you explain it.
Yeah, well, we take everything on a contingency fee basis. So there's no money out of your pocket, and we only get paid if and when we recover. And as part of that, we advance the expenses associated with the case and take a percentage of the overall value of the case at the end of the day. Now that can differ depending upon the cases, right, William?
Yeah, I mean, different cases require different amounts of time and investment from the lawyer. So, medical malpractice is generally going to be done on a higher contingency than is an automobile accident, and a workers' comp, which that fee is governed by statute out of Montgomery. Those contingency fees are going to be lower than are an automobile accident. So it does depend on the type of case, and then the risk aversion to the lawyer is different. The injured party is always going to be risk averse because the attorney is going to bear all that risk. If we spend 2-3 years on your case, $15,000 of our own money and don't make a recovery, we eat those costs and you never get a bill from us. So, the lawyer is bearing the risk, and the contingency fee does sometimes vary. The medical malpractice cases, the risk to the lawyer is higher than is an automobile accident, generally speaking, and those fees are higher.
Okay, how much time does somebody have to get this information to you? Like, how fast do you need them to come see you or to start talking about it?
Well, I mean, in any situation, the sooner we get information, the sooner we can determine what we need to do.
Okay.
Do we need to immediately go out and get physical evidence? Do we need to go out and interview witnesses? Do we need to go out and get somebody to the scene? Do we need to look at the,
that video that William was talking about?
Yeah,
you got to get that fast.
Yeah, you got to get that quick. And that's in car wreck situations.
Yeah.
A lot of that is, how do you get that? In terms of, procuring, video evidence, it can be, boots on the ground quickly, because it goes away.
And if we're dealing with an 18-wheeler, the insurance company for the 18-wheeler is going to have a mitigation team, boots on the ground within 24 hours.
Wow.
Right.
Marking it off and trying to get evidence in their favor.
You want somebody there doing that for you.
Yeah. We'll take a break. Be right back. If you didn't get your questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with Michael Timberlake and William Meservey. They are with Timberlake & League. They do personal injury cases, so that's everything from nursing home negligence to auto accidents. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com, and if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way. They're also on the midday news tomorrow. And don't forget to vote on the best event of the year at AL.com.
And Sharon does family law. She's here in Huntsville, 256-539-7337 or SharonFamilyLaw.com. Next week, we will be talking about family law. So we have an expert on that.
Thank you. Loving the law. So do Valentine's Day on Tuesday and then check in with us on Sunday night. Thanks, everybody.